All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Blockbuster Brothers. Today we're going to be talking about
Etoile.
Etoile. Did I do a good job? I kind of. I think so.
Well, it's a good thing I didn't do it because I would have butchered it.
Well, what that translates to in English is star. And that's kind of interesting because the film or the TV show is about basically this ballet studio in New York City and one in Paris, kind of figuring out a way to revitalize ballet through a merger. And this is available on Amazon Prime. And I got to be honest, I really liked it. I think this could do very well across almost any demographic, certainly if you're into ballet and dance and theater, perhaps. But this to me almost looked like what the studio should have been, where this show is centered around kind of the owner of the ballet studio, and there being a lot of sub stories within that, as opposed to the studio with Seth Rogen, where it was just kind of about him and like not too much going on, and like it seemed like there was just cameos for the sake of cameos, where this felt very cool, where he's talking to talent, he's got to figure out budgetary issues, he's got to deal with the board and figure out like a merger. And I really liked it. What did you think?
So I'm glad that you went first because I feel like the general reception that I'm getting around people is that they like it as well. I thought it kind of gives me like a Woody Allen feel to it, with like the dialogue and the way people converse with each other, and how they kind of let each one of them kind of monologue a little bit. I liked everything, I think, except for like the main guy. I think
Sure.
he was my least favorite part of it. I think he just like there wasn't much like to like about him. They kind of make him a jerk, yeah, I just was like he's like your protagonist, and I found that anytime he was on, I was kind of not as like didn't care. I almost didn't want things to work out for him. So
That's
I kind of was like he felt like kind of the weakest link when there were the ballerinas and everybody. I was like, oh, I like this. And then when he came around, I was kind of like, this guy is arrogant, and maybe that's the point. I mean, but for me, that it pissed me off.
Yeah, no, I get it. I think that's a valid criticism. There were moments where I didn't quite buy his performance, but I think he's supposed to be, it's an easy argument to make, but like you said, I think, he's supposed to maybe not be the most likable guy, who's a little bit, who a little bit arrogant, all that stuff.
And he needs to speak French as well, which I think is actually like probably pretty limiting to cast. Like
Sure.
You need to be able to like speak to bounce back like that in between languages, and that's gonna like narrow you in a little bit. It was just he was just a little pretentious for me.
Sure. And speaking of French, this was an interesting crossover. If you really think about it from that perspective, it was a unique blend of French with English. And I thought that was kind of a unique thing on its own, but I was really impressed by the camera work and the blocking that took place in this show, because this is not necessarily something where it's not a gunfight in the middle of the street, right? This is about a ballet studio and these dancers and the management that goes into behind it. And I thought they did a really good job with the camera work, keeping it interesting, including like a 2-minute long take on the fishing boat, which was just spectacular. I was really, really captivated by it. And I thought the acting was good. I think your criticism, or at least your note, is valid. But the creator of the show, Daniel Palladino, is actually a part of some pretty successful shows in the past. You're talking about Family Guy, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Gilmore Girls, and Roseanne. So he was writing and producing for those shows. So I'm not surprised it was as high quality as it was. So I would recommend this to my parents. I would recommend this to our friends. You know, whether they like it or not, it's kind of up to them, obviously. But I thought it was really well done, and a big win for Prime Video.
Yeah, it's good to see other studios putting out good stuff, and I know to the guy, the main character, doesn't take money from a guy who has questionable background. So like that is like maybe his redeeming quality is that he does have some moral ethics. But you know, I guess I'm being a little bit of a nitpicky. I definitely let us know what you think if you're interested in seeing this as well, if you've seen it already. But we'll catch you on another episode of the Blockbuster Brothers.